My phone slipped from my trembling hands and clattered onto the kitchen counter. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring with tears I refused to let fall. My own son, my flesh and blood, had just publicly commented on my latest video. "Mom, this is embarrassing. Delete this now. You're too old for social media." The comment already had 347 likes. 347 people laughing at my humiliation, after everything I'd sacrificed for him. I'm Margaret Wilson, 68 years young, and 2 years ago, I never would have imagined becoming what they call a digital influencer. Back then, I was just trying to fill the emptiness after losing Richard, my husband of 42 years. The house was so quiet without him. Our children, my son James and daughter Eliza, had their own busy lives. James with his marketing executive career and perfect family in the suburbs. Eliza traveling the world as a photojournalist, rarely in one place long enough for more than a video call. It started innocently enough. I posted a video of myself trying to make Richard's famous apple pie, narrating each step while sharing stories of our life together. I thought maybe a few friends would watch it. I never expected to wake up to 50,000 views and hundreds of comments from people saying I reminded them of their own mothers or grandmothers. Grandma Maggie's Kitchen was born that day. Within 6 months, I had 500,000 followers. People loved my cooking tutorials interspersed with life wisdom and stories from raising my children. For the first time since Richard passed, I felt purpose. I felt seen. The brand deals started coming. Cooking appliances, specialty foods, even a clothing line for women of a certain age who refused to disappear into the background. At 68, I was making more money than I ever had in my life. The house that had felt so empty was now filled with ring lights, microphones, and packages from companies hoping I'd feature their products. But my family, they didn't understand, especially James. I picked up my phone again, my finger hovering over his comment. With a deep breath, I deleted it. Not the video, his comment. Then I blocked him from commenting on my public channel. If he had something to say to me, he could call me like a respectful son should. My phone rang almost immediately. "Mom, why did you delete my comment? You're making a fool of yourself online and it's affecting us too. Do you know Tommy came home crying yesterday because kids at school were making fun of him for having a grandma influencer?" Tommy was my 13-year-old grandson, the apple of my eye. "James, I was just sharing my experience with that new air fryer. There was nothing embarrassing. You were dancing, Mom, with that ridiculous song playing. You were trying to act like those young girls online. It's unseemly at your age." The word stung like a physical slap. Unseemly, at my age, as if I should be sitting in a rocking chair, invisible to the world. I'm sorry Tommy got teased. Kids can be cruel, but I'm not going to stop doing something that brings me joy and, frankly, financial independence I never had before. "Financial independence?" James scoffed. "Mom, you're being scammed by these companies. They're taking advantage of you. You need to hire a proper manager if you're serious about this. Someone who can review your contracts. I'm not a child, James. I read every contract carefully." "Really? Did you read the fine print on that cookware deal? Did you understand all the usage rights, the exclusivity clauses, the tax implications?" I felt my confidence wavering. The truth was, I sometimes found the legal jargon confusing, but I wasn't about to admit that to my condescending son. "I'm doing just fine," I said firmly. "Now, if you don't mind, I need to prepare for tomorrow's live stream." "Live stream? Mom, please." I hung up, something I'd never done to my son before. My hands were shaking again, but this time with anger rather than hurt. The doorbell rang, interrupting my thoughts. When I opened it, I found a sleek gift basket with a bottle of expensive champagne, gourmet chocolates, and a handwritten note from Culinary Craft, one of the most prestigious cookware brands in the country. "Dear Margaret," the note read, "your authentic approach and connection with your audience is exactly what we've been looking for. We'd love to discuss an exclusive partnership. Please call us at your earliest convenience." I clutched the note to my chest, a plan already forming in my mind. James thought I was incapable of handling my own business. He thought I was embarrassing the family. Well, perhaps it was time to show my son exactly what his unseemly old mother was capable of. The next morning, I called Culinary Craft and spoke with their marketing director, a woman named Sophia, who was refreshingly straightforward. "Margaret, we've been watching your growth, And what impresses us most is your authenticity. Your audience trusts you implicitly. We'd like to offer you an exclusive 1-year contract to be the face of our new heritage collection. Exclusive? I asked, recalling James's warning about exclusivity clauses. Yes, meaning you wouldn't promote any other cookware brands during our contract period, but the compensation would reflect that exclusivity. When she named the figure, I nearly dropped the phone. It was more than Richard and I had made in 3 years of combined income during our working days. That's substantial, I managed to say. Your influence is substantial, Margaret, but we need an answer within the week. Our fall campaign is gearing up. I'd like to have my business manager look over the contract first, I said, thinking quickly. Of course. I'll email it over right away. After hanging up, I sat at my kitchen table, staring into space. I didn't have a business manager. I could ask James. He'd certainly jump at the chance to prove how naive I was. But something in me rebelled at the thought. Instead, I called my best friend Barbara, who'd been a paralegal for 40 years before retiring. Barb, I need your eyes on something. 3 hours later, Barbara and I sat at my dining room table, the contract printed out and covered in her neat annotations. Overall, Maggie, it's actually quite fair. They're offering usage rights only for the campaign period. The exclusivity is clearly defined to cookware only, not other kitchen appliances or food products, and the payment schedule is generous, 50% upfront. So you don't see any red flags? Just this clause about personal appearances. They can require up to 12 events, but the locations aren't specified. You might want to negotiate a radius limitation or additional compensation for anything requiring air travel. I nodded, making notes. What about the social media requirements? 10 posts per month featuring their products seems reasonable. Yes, but notice they have approval rights. You'll need to send content for review before posting, which could slow down your schedule. By the end of our session, I had a list of small amendments to request, but nothing that seemed like a deal breaker. I felt a surge of confidence. I could do this, without James's help. The following day, I sent my requested changes to Sophia, who responded with surprising flexibility. We negotiated back and forth for 2 days before reaching an agreement we both felt good about. I would sign the contract the following week, after their legal team prepared the final version. That weekend, James and his family came for their monthly Sunday dinner. I'd been looking forward to seeing Tommy and my daughter-in-law Ellen, but was still nursing my hurt from James's comments. Dinner was tense. James kept giving me concerned looks, while Ellen tried valiantly to keep conversation flowing. Tommy remained glued to his phone until I gently asked him to put it away at the table. Sorry, Grandma, he mumbled, looking up briefly. Cool earrings. I touched the dangling silver earrings I'd worn in my latest video. Thank you, sweetheart. They were sent by a jewelry company that wants me to feature them. James's fork clattered against his plate. More free stuff? Mom, you need to be careful about accepting gifts without contracts. There are disclosure laws. I'm well aware of FTC guidelines regarding influencer marketing, James. I interrupted smoothly. I disclose all gifted products in my videos and posts. He blinked, clearly surprised by my knowledge. Grandma's videos are actually pretty popular at school now, Tommy said unexpectedly. Blake Jenkins, he's like the coolest kid in 8th grade. His mom makes your apple fritter recipe every weekend. He brought some to school and said his mom got the recipe from that cool grandma online. My heart swelled. Really? Tommy nodded, a small smile playing at his lips. Yeah, some kids still think it's weird, but Blake told them to shut up, so... He shrugged. Language, Ellen murmured, but she was smiling too. James looked between us, frowning slightly. That's nice, I suppose. But Mom, I've been thinking about what we discussed. I'd like to introduce you to a friend of mine who manages social media accounts. He could review your operation, maybe help professionalize things a bit. My operation is doing just fine, thank you, I said, serving another helping of mashed potatoes. In fact, I've been approached for an exclusive contract. Exclusive? James's business instincts perked up immediately. What kind of exclusivity? What's the compensation structure? Have you had a lawyer review it? I've had the appropriate professionals review it, I said vaguely, not wanting to mention Barbara. Mom, this is exactly what I'm worried about. You don't have the experience to negotiate these kinds of deals. If you just let me... James, Ellen cut in, placing a hand on his arm. Your mother is a grown woman who's built an impressive following through her own talent. Maybe give her some credit. I shot Ellen a grateful look. James subsided, though he continued giving me worried glances throughout dinner. After they left, I sat in my quiet house, replaying the conversation. James still saw me as helpless, incapable, the mother who needed to be managed. Not the woman who'd raised him while working full-time, who'd nursed his father through a terminal illness, who'd rebuilt her life after unimaginable loss. My resolve strengthened. I would sign the culinary craft contract, and I wouldn't tell James until the deal was done. The following Wednesday, I dressed carefully in a stylish but age-appropriate navy dress, subtle makeup, and of course my signature pearl earrings that had become something of a trademark in my videos. I took a rideshare to the sleek downtown offices of Culinary Craft, where Sophia greeted me warmly. "Margaret, wonderful to see you in person. Your latest video about summer berry desserts was brilliant. We saw a 30% uptick in interest for our pie dishes after you mentioned them." I smiled, feeling a flutter of pride. My audience trusts my recommendations. I only mention products I truly believe in, which is exactly why we want you representing our heritage collection. It's designed for serious home cooks who value quality and tradition, just like your viewers. The meeting went smoothly. I asked pointed questions about marketing support, content guidelines, and performance metrics. If Sophia was surprised by my business acumen, she hit it well, answering each question with respect and consideration. When it came time to sign, I took a deep breath and signed my name with a flourish. Margaret Wilson, digital content creator, not just James and Eliza's mother, not just Richard's widow, a businesswoman in my own right. "We'll transfer the initial payment within 3 business days," Sophia said as we shook hands. "The product samples will be delivered next week, and we'd like to schedule a photo shoot at your home kitchen the following Monday, if that works for you." I nodded, mentally rearranging my content calendar. "That should be fine. I'll block off the entire day." As I left the building, I felt lighter than I had in months. I'd done it, navigated a major business deal on my own terms. I couldn't wait to announce it to my followers. But first, I needed to tell my family. I decided to share the news at our next family dinner. James and Ellen typically came over on the first Sunday of each month, and Eliza would be in town that weekend too, a rare occurrence that would allow me to tell everyone at once. The week flew by as I prepared new content and reorganized my kitchen to make space for the incoming Culinary Craft products. My announcement video about the partnership was scheduled to go live the Monday after our family dinner. Sunday arrived, and I spent the morning cooking everyone's favorites: James's preferred pot roast, Ellen's favorite roasted vegetables, Tommy's mac and cheese, and Eliza's beloved chocolate mousse. The house smelled like home and history, the kind of sensory memory that had helped build my online following. Eliza arrived first, sweeping in with her usual whirlwind energy, dropping her camera bags by the door and enveloping me in a tight hug. "Mom, you look amazing! Is that a new haircut?" I patted my recently styled silver bob. "Just a trim, but I did splurge on a professional color. The silver shows up better on camera with a bit of help." Eliza grinned. The famous Grandma Maggie, always camera ready now. Unlike James, Eliza had embraced my online presence from the beginning, often sending me trending recipes to try from whatever exotic locale she was photographing. "How was Indonesia?" I asked, linking my arm through hers as we moved to the kitchen. "Breathtaking and hot. So hot. I've got thousands of images to edit, but I think this might be my best work yet." We chatted easily as I put the finishing touches on dinner. Eliza updated me on her latest assignment, a feature on sustainable farming practices across Southeast Asia, while snitching bites of vegetables from the serving platter. The doorbell rang, announcing James, Ellen, and Tommy's arrival. I took a steadying breath. No matter how tense things had been with James, Sunday dinners were sacred, a tradition carried over from when Richard was alive. "Something smells amazing," Ellen said warmly as they entered, handing me a bouquet of fresh flowers. "Always thoughtful, my daughter-in-law." Tommy gave me a quick side hug before being drawn into conversation with Eliza, eager to hear about her travels. At 13, he was at that age where he vacillated between childlike enthusiasm and teenage coolness, depending on the minute. James kissed my cheek, his expression carefully neutral. "Hi, Mom. Need any help?" "Everything's ready. Let's eat while it's hot." We gathered around the dining table, passing dishes family style as we'd always done. The conversation flowed more easily than I'd anticipated, with Eliza's adventures providing plenty of neutral territory. It wasn't until we were halfway through the meal that James cleared his throat in a way that signaled he had something important to say. "Mom, I've been doing some thinking since our last discussion. I may have come across as dismissive of your social media work, and that wasn't my intention." I raised an eyebrow, waiting. "I'm just concerned about you navigating this new world without proper guidance. These companies can be predatory, and contracts can have hidden pitfalls." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. "This is David Mercer. He's one of the top digital talent managers in the city. He's agreed to take you on as a client as a personal favor to me. The assumption that I needed his arrangement, that I couldn't possibly have handled things myself, ignited something in me." I carefully set down my fork. "That's very thoughtful, James. But it won't be necessary. Mom, be reasonable. You don't understand how these things—" "I've signed an exclusive partnership with Culinary Craft," I interrupted, my voice calm but firm. "A 1-year contract as the face of their heritage collection. The contract has been reviewed, the terms are excellent, and the first payment will clear my account tomorrow." The table fell silent. Eliza was the first to react, breaking into a wide grin. "Mom, that's amazing. Culinary Craft is huge." Ellen nodded enthusiastically. "I have some of their pans. They're top quality." James stared at me, his expression cycling through surprise, confusion, and something that looked like hurt. When did this happen? Why didn't you tell me you were negotiating a major contract?" "Because you made it abundantly clear that you thought I was incapable of handling my own business affairs, that I was an embarrassment. Unseemly, I believe was the word you used." Tommy shifted uncomfortably in his seat, looking between his father and me. "I never said you were incapable," James protested. "I just wanted to make sure you weren't being taken advantage of." "The contract includes a $50,000 signing bonus," I said quietly, "plus royalties on any products that sell through my affiliate links. The total value could exceed $200,000 for the year." James's mouth actually fell open. Even Eliza looked stunned. $200,000? James repeated. "Mom, that's serious money." "Yes, it is. More than I ever made in a year as a school administrator. And I negotiated it myself, with a little help from Barbara, who spent 40 years reviewing contracts as a paralegal." A flicker of something, respect, perhaps, crossed James's face. "I had no idea it was at this scale. There's a lot you don't know about my life now, James. I'm not just your mother anymore. I'm a businesswoman with 500,000 followers who trust my opinion and value my experience." The table fell silent again, but this time, the quality of the silence was different. I could almost see James reassessing me, adjusting his mental image of his dependent widow mother. "I'm sorry," he finally said, the words sounding like they'd been wrenched from somewhere deep. "I underestimated you, and I was wrong to call your videos embarrassing. I guess it's been hard to see you change, to become someone so different from the mom I grew up with. I'm still that person, James. I'm just more than that now, too." Eliza raised her water glass. "To Mom, the digital dynamo. Culinary Craft doesn't know how lucky they are." Ellen and Tommy quickly joined the toast. After a moment's hesitation, James raised his glass too. "To Mom," he echoed, a small but genuine smile finally breaking through. The rest of dinner passed more comfortably. James asked more respectful questions about my content strategy and follower demographics. Eliza offered to help shoot some professional quality photos for my upcoming campaign. Tommy even admitted that he'd subscribed to my channel, just to make sure the algorithm treats you right, Grandma. As they were preparing to leave, James hung back while Ellen and Tommy went ahead to the car. "Mom, I really am sorry. I was being overprotective and, honestly, probably a bit old-fashioned about what someone your age should be doing. You've built something impressive, and I should have recognized that sooner." I patted his cheek, the way I used to when he was a little boy who'd learned a hard lesson. "We all have to adjust our perception sometimes. I forgive you." He hesitated, then asked, Would you be willing to let me see the contract anyway? Not because I don't trust you, but because I might have insights from my marketing experience that could help you maximize the partnership. I considered this. I'll email you a copy, as a courtesy between business professionals." "And James?" Next time you have concerns about my content, call me privately. Don't leave public comments for my followers to see." He nodded, properly chastened. Deal. After they'd all gone, I sat in my living room, feeling a complex mix of emotions. Pride in what I'd accomplished, satisfaction at James's change of attitude, and excitement about the culinary craft partnership. But there was something else too, a sense of having crossed a threshold. I was no longer just testing the waters of this new digital life. I was fully immersed, with real responsibilities and significant income at stake. The following morning, I checked my bank account and found the culinary craft deposit had indeed cleared, $50,000 more money than I'd ever seen in my account at once. My phone pinged with a text from Sophia. "Products shipping today. Photographer confirmed for Monday." So excited for this journey together. I spent the morning planning content, researching the Heritage Collection specifications, and drafting an announcement post that would satisfy both my audience and Culinary Crafts marketing team. At noon, I set up my equipment for a scheduled live-stream cooking demonstration, something I did every Monday. As viewers began joining, the number quickly climbing past 10,000, I felt a now familiar rush of adrenaline. These people had chosen to spend part of their day with me, learning from me, connecting with me. "Hello, my dears," I said warmly to the camera, reading the flood of greetings scrolling up the screen. "Today we're making my famous chicken pot pie with a twist, a crispy phyllo top instead of traditional pastry. Perfect for those of us watching our calories but unwilling to sacrifice flavor." I began prepping ingredients, narrating each step while also responding to comments and questions. This multitasking had been challenging at first, but now felt as natural as breathing. "Yes, Maria, you can absolutely substitute turkey, especially good if you have leftovers after Thanksgiving. No, Robert, I wouldn't recommend cutting the butter entirely. The flavor suffers too much. Maybe reduce it by a third, but keep some for that richness." Halfway through the demonstration, I noticed James's username appear in the viewer list. My hands faltered briefly before I recovered. He'd never watched my live streams before, at least not that I knew of. "The key to perfect phyllo," I continued smoothly, "is keeping it covered with a damp cloth until the moment you're ready to use it. Otherwise, it dries out faster than Florida real estate brochures in a retirement community." This was the kind of gentle, self-deprecating humor my audience loved, acknowledging my age while refusing to be diminished by it. The comment section exploded with laughing emojis and relatable stories. And there, among them, a comment from James. "Mom's pot pie got me through college finals. Trust me, this recipe is worth writing down." My heart squeezed with unexpected emotion. I managed to keep my composure on camera, but inside, something that had been knotted for years began to loosen. After finishing the live stream, I checked my phone to find a series of texts from Eliza. "James watched your stream," the first one read, followed by a string of shocked face emojis. "He actually asked me for your posting schedule. Who is this pod person, and what did he do with our brother?" I smiled, typing back, "People can surprise you, even your stubborn brother." The rest of the week passed in a whirlwind of preparation. The culinary craft products arrived, a stunning array of copper-bottomed stainless steel cookware with wooden handles, ceramic baking dishes in rich heritage colors, and chef's knives that felt perfectly balanced in my hand. Each piece was accompanied by detailed information about materials, craftsmanship, and optimal uses. I familiarized myself with everything, testing each piece to understand its qualities. The photographer was coming Monday, and I wanted to appear knowledgeable and natural with the products. Sunday evening, as I was reviewing my notes for the photo shoot, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone, and for a brief moment, I felt a flicker of the old widow's anxiety about unexpected visitors after dark. When I opened the door, I found Tommy standing on my porch, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "Tommy, is everything all right? Where are your parents?" "They think I'm at Blake's house working on a science project," he admitted, "but I needed to talk to you privately." I ushered him inside, concerned. "You know I don't like being part of deceptions against your parents. It's not really a deception. I am going to Blake's after this." He fidgeted with the strap of his backpack. "Grandma, I need your help with something, but you can't tell Dad." Warning bells rang in my head. "Honey, I can't promise that without knowing what it is." Tommy took a deep breath. "I want to start a YouTube channel about video game development. I've been learning to code, and I've built some simple games, and I thought maybe I could teach other kids. This was not what I'd been expecting. And you think your father would object? He thinks social media is a waste of time. He's always saying I should focus on real skills for my future. Tommy made air quotes around real skills, his frustration evident. But then I saw how you built this whole business online. And you're a lot older than me. No offense. I laughed. None taken. If you could learn all this, then why can't I? Programming is a real skill. Teaching is a real skill. I just want to do it through YouTube. I studied my grandson's face, seeing the same determination that had gotten me through the early days of my own channel. Have you created any content yet? He nodded eagerly, pulling out his laptop. I've made 3 practice videos, but I haven't uploaded them. I wanted them to be really good before anyone saw them. For the next hour, Tommy showed me his videos. Surprisingly professional tutorials on basic game development, explained in terms other teenagers could understand. He'd clearly spent considerable time planning, filming, and editing. These are excellent, Tommy. You have a natural teaching ability. His face lit up. Really? You think they're good enough to post? I do. But I also think you need to talk to your parents about this. His expression fell. Dad will just shut it down immediately. You don't know that. He's been reassessing some of his views lately. I considered the situation carefully. How about this? I'll help you set up your channel properly, optimize your profile, plan a content schedule, understand the analytics. Then we'll present it to your parents together, as a completed project with clear educational benefits. You'd do that for me? Of course. But I have one condition. We tell them within 2 weeks. No going behind their backs long term. Tommy considered this, then nodded. Deal. Thanks, Grandma. He gave me a spontaneous hug, something that had become increasingly rare as he entered his teenage years. After Tommy left, I found myself thinking about how quickly things had changed. 6 months ago, James had been embarrassed by my online presence, and now my grandson was seeking my guidance for his own digital venture. Life had a strange way of coming full circle. Monday's photo shoot went even better than expected. The photographer, Alicia, was skilled at making me feel comfortable while capturing authentic moments of me using the culinary craft products. We shot dozens of images, me chopping vegetables with their chef's knife, stirring a sauce in their copper saucepan, pulling a golden pie from the oven with their ceramic dish. These are going to be gorgeous, Alicia said, reviewing the images on her laptop. The lighting in your kitchen is a photographer's dream, and you're so natural on camera, Margaret. I flushed with pleasure. Years of teaching helps. I spent decades explaining concepts to rooms full of teenagers. A camera is much less intimidating. Well, it shows. Culinary Craft is going to be thrilled. That evening, I received an email from Sophia with the finalized marketing calendar for the first 3 months of our partnership. It included my dedicated content, their social media features, digital advertising placement, and 2 in-person cooking demonstrations at high-end department stores. I reviewed everything carefully, making notes about preparation needed for each element. The schedule was demanding but manageable. I'd need to increase my content production slightly, but the exclusivity agreement actually simplified things in other ways. No more testing and reviewing multiple competing brands. As I was making these plans, my phone rang with a call from James. Hi, Mom. Do you have a minute? Of course, I said, setting aside my notebook. Everything okay? Yes, fine. I looked over the culinary craft contract you sent. I braced myself for criticism or unwanted advice. It's very solid, he continued, surprising me. The terms are actually better than most influencer contracts I've seen. You did really well, Mom. Thank you, I said simply, not wanting to rub it in. There was one thing I noticed, though. The contract allows for you to develop and sell your own branded products after 6 months, with Culinary Craft getting right of first refusal but not exclusivity. Have you thought about what that might look like? I hadn't, actually. Not specifically. I've been focused on the immediate deliverables. It could be a significant opportunity. A cookbook, perhaps, or branded kitchen tools designed with older users in mind. Your audience demographic has substantial purchasing power and brand loyalty. I was struck by how he was talking to me, not as his mother who needed protection, but as a business colleague with valuable market position. That's an interesting thought, I said. I'll need to consider what products would authentically reflect my brand. If you want to brainstorm sometime, I'd be happy to help. Strictly as a sounding board, not trying to take over. He added quickly. I'd like that, I said, meaning it. Maybe dinner next week? Just the two of us? I'd like that too, Mom. After we hung up, I sat for a long time, reflecting on how dramatically my life had changed. 2 years ago, I'd been a grieving widow, rattling around an empty house. Now I was a business owner with contracts, partnerships, and revenue streams. More importantly, I had purpose, connection, and a newfound relationship with my son based on mutual respect rather than obligation. The following month was a whirlwind of activity. My announcement about the Culinary Craft Partnership received overwhelming positive response from my audience. The first sponsored videos performed exceptionally well, with engagement rates far exceeding Sophia's projections. I helped Tommy launch his gaming channel, which gained a modest but enthusiastic following of fellow teenage aspiring developers. And true to our agreement, we presented it to James and Ellen together. To Tommy's shock, James was cautiously supportive. As long as it doesn't affect your grades and you maintain appropriate internet safety, he stipulated. And I want Grandma to keep supervising your content strategy. The look of stunned joy on Tommy's face was priceless. Later, when Tommy was showing Ellen his channel analytics, James pulled me aside. This isn't just about the YouTube channel, is it? He asked quietly. You're mentoring him. I nodded. He has a gift for teaching, James. Just like I did. The platform may be different, but the skill is timeless. James looked thoughtful. I've been so focused on pushing him toward traditional career paths. Law, medicine, business. But watching his videos, he comes alive when he's explaining these coding concepts. Children need guidance, but they also need space to discover their own talents, I said gently. Something all parents struggle with finding the balance for. Even experienced ones, apparently, James said with a rueful smile. Thank you for helping him do this the right way, instead of behind our backs. We had a deal. No secrets, just open communication. Something shifted in James's expression. I'm starting to think my successful mother might have wisdom beyond cooking tips to share with her audience. The seed of an idea that had been germinating in my mind for weeks suddenly blossomed into clarity. Actually, I've been thinking about expanding my content. Not just recipes, but life wisdom for reinvention after loss, after retirement, after children leave home. So many of my followers are in similar life stages. That sounds exactly right for your brand, James said, nodding with genuine enthusiasm. Authentic expansion built on your actual expertise. As October turned to November, my channel continued to grow, now passing 700,000 followers. The Culinary Craft Partnership was exceeding all expectations, with the company reporting a 45% increase in Heritage Collection sales since our campaign launched. I began carefully introducing more lifestyle content alongside my cooking videos, topics on reinvention, finding purpose in later life, navigating changing family dynamics, and building financial independence at any age. The response was overwhelming, with thousands of comments from viewers thanking me for addressing issues they were struggling with silently. You made me believe it wasn't too late to start something new at 65, one commenter wrote, bringing tears to my eyes. For Thanksgiving, I hosted the entire family, including Barbara and a few other friends who had no family nearby. As we gathered around the table, expanded to accommodate everyone, I looked at the faces of those I loved most in the world and felt a profound sense of gratitude. James raised his glass for a toast. To Mom, who taught us all that it's never too late to reinvent yourself, to stand your ground, and to pursue your passions. We're so proud of you. Hear, hear, the table echoed, glasses clinking. As we began serving the feast, much of it prepared in my now famous Culinary Craft cookware, Eliza leaned over to whisper, Remember when James wanted you to delete your videos because they were embarrassing? Now he's your biggest promoter. I smiled, thinking of the journey we'd taken to reach this point. People can surprise you, I whispered back. Even stubborn sons. December brought new opportunities and challenges. Culinary Craft wanted to feature me in their holiday television campaign, my first appearance in traditional media. The filming process was more complex than my usual setup, with a professional crew transforming my kitchen into a winter wonderland of cooking magic. The resulting commercial exceeded my wildest expectations. Seeing myself on television, confidently demonstrating Culinary Craft's products while sharing holiday cooking tips, was surreal. Even more surreal were the calls from friends across the country who spotted me during their favorite shows. James organized a family viewing party for the commercial's premiere, inviting extended family and neighbors to watch together. The pride in his eyes as he introduced me to people as my mother, the culinary influencer, healed wounds I hadn't even realized were still raw. As Christmas approached, I found myself reflecting on the past year while planning content for the next. My partnership with Culinary Craft had opened doors I never imagined, but it was the personal growth, my own and my family's, that felt most significant. I decided to film a special year-end video, more personal than my usual content. I set up my camera in my living room rather than the kitchen, with the Christmas tree twinkling softly in the background. "Hello, my dears," I began, looking directly into the camera. As the year draws to a close, I wanted to take a moment for something a bit different. Not a recipe or a cooking technique, but a reflection on unexpected journeys. I shared the story of how my channel began, the loneliness after Richard's death, the accidental first viral video, the way the community had formed around my content. I spoke candidly about the family tensions my new career had initially caused, and how we'd worked through them together to find a new balance. Many of you have shared your own stories of reinvention in the comments, and they've touched me deeply. We're taught to think of our later years as a time of slowing down, of stepping back. But what if they're actually a time for stepping forward into new versions of ourselves? I spoke about identity beyond traditional roles, beyond being someone's mother, someone's wife, someone's employee, about the freedom that comes with age, the confidence to finally pursue passions, without worrying what others might think. A year ago, my son told me I was too old for social media, that I was embarrassing myself and my family. Today, he helps me strategize my business growth, and my grandson comes to me for advice on his own channel. I smiled into the camera, feeling the weight of truth in what I was about to say. The lesson I've learned this year is simple but profound. It's never too late to rewrite your story. It's never too late to stand in your power. And sometimes, the very people who tried to limit you will become your biggest champions when you refuse to shrink yourself to meet their expectations. I ended the video with holiday wishes and a heartfelt thank you to the community that had changed my life so completely. After uploading it, I sat in my quiet living room, feeling a sense of peace and purpose I'd never expected to find again after Richard's death. My phone pinged with a text from James. "Just watched your new video. So proud to be your son. Dad would be bursting with pride, too." Tears blurred my vision as I typed back. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means everything." The video resonated beyond anything I could have anticipated, quickly becoming my most viewed content ever. It was shared thousands of times across multiple platforms, featured in online articles about late-life reinvention, and even caught the attention of a morning talk show that invited me to appear as a guest in January. New Year's Eve found me in my kitchen, preparing appetizers for a small gathering of close friends. Barbara was coming, along with a few former colleagues and neighbors. James and his family would stop by briefly before heading to a party with friends their age. Eliza was in town, helping me arrange furniture and set up a makeshift bar. "Mom, I've been meaning to ask," Eliza said as she arranged glasses on the sideboard. "Have you thought about what's next? The Culinary Craft contract has been amazing, but it's only for a year. What are you planning for after?" I smiled, pulling a tray of miniature quiches from the oven. "Actually, I've been having some interesting conversations. A publishing house has approached me about a cookbook with a twist, not just recipes, but stories of reinvention from women in their 60s and beyond, paired with comfort foods that sustain them through times of transition." Eliza's eyes widened. "That's perfect for you." "There's more," I said, feeling a flutter of excitement. Culinary Craft is interested in developing a line of cooking tools specifically designed for people with arthritis or reduced hand strength. Elegant, effective tools that don't look like medical devices. They want me to consult on the design and be the face of the line. "Mom, that's incredible. Are you going to do it?" "I'm strongly considering it. The cookbook is definitely a yes. The product line? I want to make sure it's something I truly believe in, not just lending my name to." Eliza hugged me impulsively. "You know what's amazing. A year ago, you would have jumped at any opportunity, just grateful to be included. Now you're evaluating partnerships based on strategic alignment with your brand values." I laughed. "I've been spending too much time with your brother. His business vocabulary is rubbing off on me." "It looks good on you," Eliza said. her expression turning serious. "I just wish Dad could see you now. I think he can," I said softly. "And I think he'd be thoroughly amused by the whole thing. Remember how he used to say I was the worst at technology? That I needed his help to program the DVR?" Eliza snorted. "And now you're explaining ring light setups to aspiring influencers in your comments section." As we laughed together, the doorbell rang, announcing the first of my guests. The evening unfolded in a warm blur of good food, better company, and the comfortable joy of being surrounded by people who truly saw me, not just as a mother or widow or retiree, but as a woman continuing to grow and evolve. At midnight, as we toasted the new year, I found myself filled with anticipation rather than nostalgia. The year ahead held so much promise: new projects, expanding influence, deepening relationships with my family who now saw me with fresh eyes. My phone buzzed with notifications, thousands of followers sending New Year's wishes, comments still pouring in on my reflection video, messages from other content creators seeking collaboration. I silenced it, choosing to be fully present in this moment with the people physically around me. There would be time tomorrow for the digital world I'd built. Tonight was for appreciating the bridge I'd constructed between my past and my future, between the traditional family values I still cherished and the modern platform that had given me unexpected purpose. 3 days into January, I received an email that left me staring at my screen in disbelief. The subject line read, "Invitation to Speak, TEDx Women Reinvention Series." The organizer had seen my year-end reflection video and wanted me to share my journey of late-life digital entrepreneurship at their upcoming event. Me giving a TEDx talk. It seemed impossible, yet there was the invitation in black and white. My finger hovered over the forward button, my first instinct being to send it to James for his opinion. Then I stopped myself, smiling at the old habit. Instead, I clicked reply and began typing an acceptance, confident in my own decision. Later that week, during our now regular business strategy dinner, I told James about the opportunity. "A TEDx talk? Mom, that's major." His genuine excitement warmed me. "What will you speak about?" "Digital reinvention after loss, I think. Not just how to build an online presence, but how to redefine yourself when the identity you've held for decades suddenly doesn't fit anymore." James nodded thoughtfully. "You know, your story isn't just inspiring for people your age. It's relevant to anyone going through major life transitions." That's what the organizer said. "She thinks it could reach beyond my usual demographic." "She's right," James said, then hesitated slightly. "Mom, I've been thinking about something. Would you be open to launching a small business consultancy focused on digital transition for older entrepreneurs? There's a whole generation of retirees with valuable expertise who don't know how to leverage online platforms." I blinked in surprise. "You want to go into business with your embarrassing old mother?" He had the grace to look chagrined. "I deserve that. But yes, I do. Your success wasn't a fluke or luck. You built something substantial through instinct, authenticity, and connection with your audience. Those principles apply across industries." "Let me think about it," I said, though the idea was already taking root in my mind. After the TEDx talk, perhaps. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of preparation, drafting my talk, practicing delivery, working with the TEDx coaches to refine my message. I continued creating content for my channel and fulfilling my culinary craft obligations. But this new challenge energized rather than depleted me. The night before the TEDx event, I found myself unable to sleep. I wandered through my house in the dark, eventually settling in Richard's old study, where I'd kept many of his belongings exactly as they were. "I wish you could see this, Rich," I said aloud to the empty room. "You always said I had more to give, that retirement would never suit me, but even you couldn't have imagined this." I could almost hear his laughing response. "Maggie, my love, you're too stubborn to ever become invisible. Of course you found a way to be heard." The next morning, as I stood in the wings waiting to be introduced, I felt a curious calm settle over me. I was nervous, yes, but underneath that was a bedrock of confidence that would have been unimaginable 2 years earlier. Our next speaker, the host announced, built a digital empire from her kitchen table at age 66, after decades as a school administrator. Today, she reaches millions with her unique blend of culinary expertise and life wisdom. Please welcome Margaret Wilson. As I walked onto the red circular carpet, the spotlight warm on my face, I saw my family in the front row: James, Ellen, Tommy, and Eliza, all beaming with undisguised pride. Behind them sat Barbara and several other friends, some of whom had initially been skeptical of my online venture. I took my position center stage, smoothed my new navy dress, selected with input from my followers, of course, and looked out at the audience with a smile. 2 years ago, I was a 66-year-old widow rattling around an empty house, wondering what purpose the remaining years of my life could possibly hold. Today, I stand before you as the CEO of my own digital media company, with 500,000 followers, major brand partnerships, and a vision for the future that excites me more than anything I've ever done before. I paused, letting that sink in. But this isn't a story about social media or cooking videos or even entrepreneurship. This is a story about refusing to accept the limiting narrative that society writes for women of a certain age. This is a story about the courage to reinvent yourself when the world expects you to quietly disappear. For the next 18 minutes, I shared my journey. The accidental first viral video, the joy of connecting with an audience, the painful family tensions, and the ultimate reconciliation through mutual respect. I spoke about the business lessons I'd learned, the confidence I'd gained, and the community I'd built. I concluded by looking directly into the camera that would carry my message beyond the auditorium. We talk a lot about young entrepreneurs, about prodigies who achieve success before 30, but there is profound value in late-life reinvention, in bringing decades of accumulated wisdom to new ventures, in showing the world that relevance doesn't have an expiration date. I smiled, feeling the truth of my final words deep in my bones. My son once told me to delete my videos because they were embarrassing. He thought I was too old for social media, too old to start something new, too old to be seen. Instead, I signed a 6-figure brand deal without telling him, and in doing so, taught him and myself the most important lesson of all. It is never too late to rewrite your story. It is never too late to claim your power. And it is never, ever too late to refuse to be invisible. Thank you. The applause washed over me like a wave as I stood tall under the lights, no longer Richard's widow or James and Eliza's mother, or the retired school administrator, but Margaret Wilson, digital entrepreneur, a woman who had refused to disappear. As I left the stage, James was the first to embrace me, his eyes suspiciously bright. "That was extraordinary, Mom. You're extraordinary." In that moment, I knew that whatever came next, the book deal, the product line, perhaps even the consultancy with James, it would unfold on my terms, guided by my vision. I had stopped asking for permission to take up space in the world, to have a voice, to reinvent myself as many times as necessary. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably notifications from followers watching the live stream. Tomorrow I would respond to them all, nurturing the community that had given me such unexpected purpose. Tonight was for celebrating with the people who had joined me on this journey of transformation. As we gathered for photos, I caught a glimpse of myself in a nearby mirror, standing straight, eyes bright with purpose, surrounded by my proud family. In my reflection, I saw not just who I had become, but who I was continuing to become. The story wasn't over. It was still being written. One video, one partnership, one reinvention at a time. And for the first time since Richard's death, the future stretched before me not as an emptiness to be endured, but as a canvas awaiting my distinctive brushstrokes. My friends, if my story has resonated with you in any way, if you found inspiration or connection or just a moment of entertainment, I hope you'll consider subscribing to this channel. We're so close to reaching 1,000 subscribers, a milestone that will help us bring more stories like mine to people who need to hear them. Your subscription isn't just a click. It's support for the message that it's never too late to rewrite your story. Never too late to stand in your power. Never too late to refuse to be invisible. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. I can't wait to see where we go next, together.